In the beautiful but strange state of Florida, a 19-year-old FSU student named Austin Harrouff had an incredibly bright future. Austin's family was involved in the medical field, and Austin was to follow suit. So how does a 19-year-old super bright college student go from being in a fraternity and wanting to earn his doctorate to ultimately killing two people and eating parts of their face? Let's take a closer look. This is the true story of Austin Harrouff. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Wicked and Wild, where we cover all types of true crime, whether solved or unsolved, terrifying and tragic, or just plain wicked and wild. I'm your host, Tyler, here to give you exactly what you came for. And with that being said, let's get right into it. Austin Harrouff was born on December 21st, 1996, in beautiful Palm Beach, Florida, to parents Wade and Mina Harrouff. Austin was raised alongside his younger sister, Haley, and according to his parents, had a, quote, great upbringing. Having parents successful in their work field, Austin and his sister were able to reap the benefits of their parents' success. Life was perfect for Austin until 2010, when his parents would announce their divorce, leaving 13-year-old Austin to live with his mother and sister in Jupiter, Florida, while still keeping in contact with his father, along with regular visits. Austin strived to be as successful as his parents from the very beginning. Being the son of a dentist and pharmacist, along with being the grandson of a doctor, Austin was interested in following his parents' and grandfather's footsteps into the medical field. Austin hoped to enroll in pre-med at a 4-year university and go on to one day earn a doctorate. Austin was so dedicated that he retook his high school test 3 times to improve his score for college prep benchmarks. Austin attended Suncoast Community High School in Riviera Beach, where he did well and participated in the school's international bachelor program, obtaining college credits by taking advanced classes in biology, chemistry, statistics, and math analysis. It wasn't all bookwork for Austin, as he actually also played on the football team and was involved in wrestling. His high school years seemed to be normal, with no obvious warning signs. Austin had always been very shy and socially anxious, which people close to him already knew. Friends and family, however, did take notice around this time that Austin would jot down things in his iPhone, almost like a to-do list or reminders. But these wouldn't be about what groceries to get or what time he had to leave for an event. These notes would usually be centered around his purpose in life and started to slowly become more and more strange, writing things like, "Keep running even when they say you're crazy," and "I don't want to be worshipped, but I know I will be." He would sometimes share these thoughts to people close to him, even telling them that he was immortal and half animal. And even though these comments were very strange, it wasn't enough for friends or family to push him to receive any kind of mental help. And as you guys will come to hear further in this story, I don't think anything that he possibly could have done would have been enough for his family to push him to receive mental health. In 2016, Austin would begin his freshman year at FSU, where he would discover his love for science, art, and music, even writing in an assignment that he sees himself as creative and could potentially write music for money. Austin also was a part of the Alpha Delta Phi fraternity and had no disciplinary record at FSU, along with holding a 3.2 GPA, just under a B+ average. Austin would also meet and start dating a girl named Katie during April 2016. It seemed that Austin was on his way to carving his own successful path, having performed well in school his entire life, along with having ambitions and goals of his own, and even meeting and keeping a girlfriend. But no one could have predicted the twists and turns that were to come. Austin had been having trouble sleeping since high school, and it didn't get any better during his freshman year. He began taking 10 milligrams of melatonin every night, which seemed to help slightly, but overall still fought with sleep paralysis. He also began to experience extreme depression, seemingly out of nowhere. He would have moments of very high highs, but extremely low lows. This was noticed by his parents, who were aware that depression ran in the family, and Austin's father thought that a job might help keep Austin preoccupied. Austin managed to get his first job as a dental assistant for 6 weeks during July and August of 2016 due to the pressure from his father. Austin was always known to be somewhat odd to people who didn't know him. But this is when people close to him started to really notice his increasingly odd behavior and almost constant changing of goals and aspirations that were just totally out of character for him. When he started his dental assistant job in July, it actually seemed like this is what Austin needed, as he seemed to be more positive and felt really good about himself, having more frequent highs and seemed to be in a more elevated mood. Austin, noticeably, also started to obsess over helping people and became overly concerned about his patients' distress. This wasn't a problem, with some seeing it as actually a positive change, until he started to show more bizarre behavior. There would be days Austin would spend crying because he felt so bad about other people's problems. Concerns started to really arise in the dental office after Austin began sharing with coworkers that he could manipulate the water while sterilizing the dental instruments at work. He believed that water was a source of power for him, and that when using water on the equipment, that water would just sculpt into his hands and go inside of him, giving him added energy, and that he could bless the water, which would automatically sterilize the equipment. He would brag about his water manipulation, adding that he was special and that no one could direct water the way that he could. These comments made their way back to Austin's family, who started to worry about their son's mental state. It didn't help that at this same time, Austin became convinced he could become the next big rap star. He believed that if he worked extremely hard at it, that there was no way he wouldn't succeed. And he obsessed over his music and became fashion conscious, wearing clothes that he had never worn before, and even considered buying a huge chain to wear around his neck, which as a whole was just totally out of character for him. Austin visited his girlfriend from August 4th to August 7th in Tampa and didn't sleep the entire time as he was overly obsessed about his new music career, going as far as to creating a YouTube channel under the name Austin Frosty, which, let's be honest, the name alone is just a bad start. He also decided he wanted to dye his hair blue for more attention and that it would help get eyes on his rap career. He also convinced himself around this time that he would be a major civil rights leader and could mediate problems brought up by the protesters from Black Lives Matter, acting as a mediator. Austin began taking these new goals very seriously. He began to see himself as Gandhi. He started to fast like Gandhi. He changed his screensaver to Gandhi and wanted to be the person to, quote, unite everyone. At this point, Austin had barely slept at all, beginning during his visit to Katie on August 4th, and now, being a week later, Austin would take his delusions up a notch. Austin had made the conclusion that he had superpowers within him, and that he was Jesus. And to Austin, this was very real. Austin believed it was his duty as Jesus to help other people with their problems. So Austin began to act like Jesus. He walked in a slow, harmonious manner like Jesus and wore light clothes because Jesus wore light clothes. He started to become fearful of the dark, associating dark with lack of clarity and evil, and that the devil had all the power in the dark. His fear of the dark was real and became so extreme that he would always have all the lights on. And though Austin wasn't sleeping at all at this point already, refused to even attempt sleeping, believing that dark spirits would kill him if he did. Austin had begun to realize that, in his mind, he didn't need sleep, and that the longer he didn't sleep, the better his moods would be, an increase in his need to help people, and a more grandiose feeling altogether. But after over a week of not sleeping, it became clear that Austin was completely losing it. He began purchasing more random items than usual, drove recklessly, walked in the street where he was almost hit multiple times by vehicles, and even spoke inappropriately to patients and antagonized friends and family. On August 12th, 2016, Austin was just completely mentally confused. He started to see evil spirits and monsters in his mom's home, and truly believed that everyone in his mother's house was at risk of being killed, but especially himself and his sister Haley. He had moved his mattress from his new room to his old room to be closer to everyone, but eventually just moving into his sister Haley's room to sleep with her, both for his own fears and to protect his sister. He also, strangely, began collecting people's business cards, believing that if he had their cards, he could help protect them as well. But by the very next day, he feared that the cards would actually have the opposite effect and decided to rip them all up. On Saturday, August 13th, Austin was just a complete mess and was completely obsessing over himself. And being a Sagittarius, convinced himself that he was half horse, half man, and at other times, he was half dog, half man. While on a bike ride with his father and Carrie, his dad's girlfriend, he saw dogs barking and believed that the dogs' souls were begging for help. During dinner later that night, Austin would only drink water as he believed the water would keep him safe. And Austin's dad, obviously worried, pressured Austin to have an alcoholic beverage to relax. But Austin wouldn't budge. Austin spent the next couple days hanging out with his father and Carrie, even attending a gun show the next day with them where he would purchase a knife for protection and ask some vendors about fighting stances in case he was attacked. This was very unlike Austin and was definitely noticed by his father, who was growing increasingly worried about his son. His father hadn't been letting Austin drive his own car and had held his keys for the last few days after seeing Austin's increasingly erratic behavior. On August 15th, Austin went from his mother's house to his father's house to get his car that had been there for a few days. Austin was just on one, to say the least. He ran the entire 4 miles from his mother's house to his father's house wearing a Michael Vick jersey since he felt a special connection to dogs. Though Michael Vick was charged and sentenced for dogfighting, Austin would go back and forth on whether Mike Vick was good or bad. Anyways, during his run there, he spent a good amount of it in the middle of the road, feeling invincible in that it wasn't possible for him to get hurt, causing cars to have to drive around him. When he made it to his father's house, his father tried to force him to take a Xanax, probably in the hopes of him relaxing or maybe even to force him to sleep. But Austin was convinced of his superpowers and his invincible feeling, and so rejected his dad's attempts at taking any medications. Austin wanted the keys to his car, but his father would not give him the keys, obviously worried for his son's safety. Austin decided to then jump on his dad's car so that his father would give him his car keys, and at that point he did, fearing Austin would take things too far if he didn't. Austin got in the car and left and picked up his friend Sam along with his sister Haley, where they then met back up with his father and Carrie, and they all took a walk on a nature trail before going out to eat together. While walking on the trail, Austin saw 2 turtle shells and for whatever reason began to believe that his father was now a slow turtle. And not just a slow turtle, but a slow turtle in serious danger. Austin pulled the knife he brought from the gun show and tried to take on a leader role, which his dad told him that everything was fine and to put the knife away. But Austin being Austin, instead of putting the knife away, Austin thought everyone had actually told him to run. So he ran as fast as he could, eventually running and jumping over a wall where, luckily, Carrie was waiting with the car and was actually able to get him in. After getting the group together, they all went out to eat at Duffy's restaurant. While at Duffy's, Austin acted very strange and said that he felt stuck after ordering his chili since it was taking a long time, and felt the need to leave after feeling the Grim Reaper's presence, and that he was an angel of death and Carrie was an angel of life. And so he left the restaurant without telling the others. He then walked a few miles to his mother's house where he mixed cooking oil with Parmesan and attempted to drink it before his mother, who was absolutely horrified, stopped him and decided to take him back to the restaurant with his father. When Austin returned, his father grabbed him by the shirt and screamed, "What's wrong with you?" Which Austin then balled up his fist and began to cock back. Carrie intervened and was able to defuse the situation. After the almost fight was broken up, Austin decided he wanted to teach his father a lesson, and that he could get back to his dad's house on his own. So Austin began to walk, and about 3/4 of the way to his father's house, Austin thought to have seen a dark figure with a white face that said, "Hey Austin," who he believed to be Daniel, who apparently was a friend of his cousin's from childhood. He believed that Dan was a bad guy and an evil spirit, and began to run and scream in terror as he felt Dan was trying to kill him. While Austin was running, he saw a white light coming from a garage, which he thought would protect him, and so he ran into the garage where he was met with a woman, 53-year-old Michelle Mishkan, who was yelling at him to get out. Austin was not in any kind of right mental state and obviously had lost touch with reality. And unfortunately, there was a machete in the garage, which Austin then grabbed and began to use on Michelle. And after using the machete on her, began to start drinking chemicals that he was finding around the garage. In the midst of Austin attacking Michelle and drinking random chemicals, 59-year-old John Stevens, Michelle's husband, came in and realized what was happening and tried to stop Austin, which ultimately resulted in Austin jumping on the man and began stabbing him repeatedly with the machete, and strangely enough, started to bite him. A neighbor next door, hearing the commotion, ran over and, seeing the carnage, tried to stop Austin, which ended him in being attacked as well, but was able to ultimately escape and run to his house to call police for help. When police arrived, they were met with a nearly nude 19-year-old Austin aggressively biting chunks off the face of John Stevens while growling like a dog. Police really had to fight to get Austin off John, and each time they would wrestle him away, he would fight to get back to John and continue to bite and chew on his face. Officers had to use anything they could to stop Austin's vicious attack, including punching, kicking, tasing, even unleashing a canine dog, all of which finally worked to get Austin into custody, all the while him yelling, "Kill me, kill me." When officers finally had Austin in custody, he spat out a chunk of meat and admitted that it was human flesh. Unfortunately, neither of the innocent couples survived the vicious attack from Austin, with the neighbor surviving but with serious injuries from being struck in the head. Austin now faces 2 counts of first-degree murder, along with other charges. The 19-year-old frat boy from FSU had pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity and had waived a jury trial. Ultimately, Austin's trial was delayed by the pandemic and, along with his recovery from ingesting dangerous chemicals in the garage during the horrific attack. It's also worth mentioning that there were no traces of any kind of drugs in his system during the attack. The trial ultimately took years to come to a final decision, and ultimately, on November 8th, 2022, a Florida judge accepted the now former college student's plea deal for the random 2016 killings of a well-loved couple, allowing the 25-year-old at the time to plead guilty by reason of insanity and avoid jail time, and instead ordered to stay at a secure mental health facility until deemed no longer a threat to the public. This, of course, infuriated the victim's family and even the public after years of waiting for sentencing. Though Austin was deemed to be in an acute psychotic episode during the attack, many see this as an unfair judgment for the slaying of 2 innocent people. On January 26, 2023, Austin, now 26, began a new period of civil confinement at Florida State Hospital in Chattahoochee, and it's now up to the courts to determine how long Harrouf must be involuntarily committed to receive treatment. Overall, this was an unbelievably horrific attack that ultimately affected many people, along with the lives of 2 innocent people being taken. Of course, this is Florida. All the crazy things that happen in the world are in Florida, so that really didn't surprise me. But yeah, what do you guys think? Was the hospital the right call for his punishment? He could be let out if they deem that he's back to normal and it was just a case of not sleeping. And what do you guys think? I'm really interested. Let me know in the comments. And please, guys, let me know what you thought of this video. Let me know what you thought about Austin, the situation, and even me as the host. I always love getting feedback. I read every single comment that you guys leave, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And for now, that's it. I'll see you guys on the next one.